Man, our guy is really going through it, living in a world that's basically a giant, unforgiving meat grinder. It's a total nightmare out there, where if you aren't strong enough to hold your own, you're basically just food for the next guy. You can see the desperation in his eyes, like he's literally clawing his way out of the dirt just to survive another day. It's honestly depressing, but he's right. He's stuck in this hellhole because he's just not strong enough to change his fate. Turns out, about a century ago, this crazy bright light slammed into Earth and just started deleting everything in sight. The whole planet got cooked, turning into a massive, endless desert graveyard that looks like something straight out of Dune. With nowhere left to go, the few survivors had to hunker down in these fortified cities just to keep from getting wiped out. Our boy is sitting there, just venting about how these bug-like freaks were left behind to make life even more miserable for everyone. Out of nowhere, this absolute unit of a guy just clocks him in the face. Talk about a rude awakening. And then this sadistic bastard with the tribal tats just laughs it off like it's a joke, acting like he didn't just try to cave our guy's head in. Our boy Xian finally speaks up, looking like he's about to snap at this loudmouth. The big guy just keeps on yapping, acting like he's the king of the bus and trying to get under Xian's skin. You can see the fire in Xian's eyes. He's clearly done playing nice with this absolute clown. This dude thinks he's so tough, putting his arm around Xian like they're best buds, but he's got no clue what's coming. Xian isn't having any of it, and he's ready to show this punk exactly why you don't mess with the wrong person. Bam! Xian delivers a lightning-fast strike right to the guy's jaw, and it looks like it hit with the force of a chidori. The big guy goes flying back, completely caught off guard by how hard our boy can actually hit. Xian stands up, looking cold as ice, and basically tells the guy he's been talking to the wrong person all day. He drops the bomb that he's actually a murderer, and the look on his face is pure, unadulterated intensity. And just like that, we get a flashback to the dark streets of Neo Seoul, where Xian explains that in this messed up city, if you aren't strong, you aren't even considered human. We're diving into a flashback where Xian is standing over some punk he just absolutely wrecked, acting like it's no big deal. The guy on the ground is leaking blood everywhere, trying to flex that his big brother is Lee Juryung to scare Xian off. Xian's face says it all. He's clearly heard that name before and it's hitting him like a freight train. We get a glimpse of this Lee Juryung guy, and he's basically a walking lightning storm, proving that these awakened types are on a whole different level. Back in the present, Xian is still reeling from the memory, and the tension on that bus is thick enough to cut with a knife. The blonde bastard is still grinning like a total psycho, clearly not realizing he's about to get folded. Xian notices a weird cut on his own hand, and realizes he's already tapped into his hidden power without even trying. Before the guy can even blink, Xian launches him across the bus like he's a ragdoll in a physics engine. The guy hits the floor hard, gasping for air and looking completely shocked that a rat could actually fight back. The blonde guy starts cracking his knuckles, acting all smug and threatening, totally oblivious to the fact that he's about to get humbled. Our boy is absolutely losing his mind, screaming into the void because he tried so hard to dodge these awakened freaks, only to end up right in the middle of their mess. Meanwhile, this blonde-haired douchebag is still posturing, acting like he's some kind of high-end mighty god, while the rest of the bus looks on in total terror. Suddenly, the whole vehicle gets launched into the air like a toy, and you know things are about to go from bad to straight-up apocalyptic. The guy who was just trying to jump Xian is now face down on the floor, completely rattled and screaming at the driver to get a grip. But the driver is totally checked out, staring blankly ahead like his brain just completely logged off from reality. The guy on the floor is still panicking, demanding to know what the hell is going on, but he's clearly not getting any answers. The driver just keeps muttering to himself like a broken record, repeating that they weren't supposed to be heading to the mines. Xian is staring at the driver, realizing that this guy isn't just bad at driving, he's seen something that shattered his entire psyche. The driver is sobbing now, tears streaming down his face as he finally lets the truth slip out. And then boom, the ground literally opens up beneath them, and we see a massive, terrifying sand monster ready to swallow the whole bus like a snack, straight out of a nightmare. Man, the chaos on that bus is absolute madness, with everyone just scrambling over each other like they're trying to escape a burning building. Our boy Xian is looking back at his life, realizing that this whole nightmare is just a broken record that keeps playing over and over. We get a flashback to him sitting in the dark, feeling like total trash while he reflects on how he got dragged into this mess. He's literally sinking into the sand, reaching out like he's trying to grab onto a lifeline that just isn't there. It's brutal, but he's basically accepted that in this messed up world, the strong just eat the weak for breakfast. He's thinking about how he's dying here, and honestly, he's just blaming himself for not being strong enough to survive. He calls it a cliché, but when you're staring death in the face, even the most basic thoughts feel like a heavy weight on your chest. It's all just noise at this point, and he's pretty much checked out, waiting for the end to finally catch up to him. You can see his hand slowly getting swallowed by the sand, like he's being pulled down into the depths of the earth. And just when you think it's over, he gasps for air, fighting with everything he's got to stay above the surface. Talk about a close call. Our boy Xian is absolutely gasping for air, looking like he's been through the ringer and back. His eyes are locked in, glowing with this intense, wild energy that tells you he's hitting a whole new level of power. We get a shot of the planet itself, just a desolate, rocky wasteland floating in the void. Talk about a total vibe check for the apocalypse. Xian is fully leaning into his ability, calling out his sand blaster move while the energy swirls around him like a sandstorm. The sheer scale of the threat is insane, with that massive worm lunging out of the earth like something straight out of a Dune nightmare. He's standing there, covered in grime and blood, realizing that in this world of sand, he's gotta be the one to come out on top. He's literally walking through the wreckage, looking like a total badass who's done playing by anyone else's rules. The look in his eyes is pure, cold determination. He's not just trying to survive anymore, he's making a statement. He's standing tiny against this colossal, terrifying beast, showing us that our guy has the guts to face down a literal monster. It's like his body is overclocking, with his cells literally vibrating as he taps into that raw, hidden power to finally turn the tide. Our boy Xian is literally vibrating with power, realizing that this intense, internal pressure is finally triggering his awakening. The sheer scale of the situation hits home as that massive, nightmare-inducing sandworm looms over him like a boss from a horror game. Xian is caught in the middle of the chaos, barely dodging the beast as it tears through the landscape. Even with his back against the wall, he's not backing down, straight up challenging the monster to bring the heat. He's locked in, focusing all that raw, surging energy into a single, devastating strike to clear his path. The impact is insane, sending him flying through the air as the force of his own ability kicks back at him. He hits the ground hard, spitting out grit and feeling the absolute toll this kind of power takes on his body. He's scrambling in the dirt, totally breathless and trying to process the sheer insanity of the power he just unleashed. His eyes are wide with shock, looking up at the sky and realizing just how terrifyingly high he's been launched into this fight. He's staring at the dark, viscous residue of his power, wondering if he should even try to come back down to earth after that wild ride. This absolute beast of a man, Zhang Yongbum, just stands there looking down at the carnage, casually dropping orders to head to the first floor. He's got this massive, segmented blade stuck in the ground, and he's just chilling like he didn't just delete a giant monster from existence. The sheer impact of his strike is still echoing, leaving a massive crater in the sand that looks like a total war zone. Xian is standing there, completely bug-eyed and losing his mind because he can't wrap his head around how easy that just looked. He's still in shock, staring at the blade and wondering if this is the kind of god-tier power that defines an awaken. Then this blue-haired cutie, Giselle, pops up out of nowhere, acting all hyper and fangirling over her leader like it's a concert. Xian is totally blindsided by how fast she moved, and he's left wondering how the hell she closed the distance without him even noticing. She grabs his arm and suddenly he's feeling this supernatural chill creeping into his bones, like he's being flash frozen on the spot. Giselle is just laughing her head off, clearly enjoying the chaos while Xian struggles to keep his cool against her weird, icy touch. The big guy just turns around, totally unbothered by the drama, while Xian is left reeling from the sheer absurdity of these two showing up. Giselle is literally tossing our boy Xian around like a rag doll in the middle of this desert wasteland. She slams him into the sand with zero effort, and honestly it looks like it hurt more than a little bit. This cutie is acting like she's playing a game, laughing while she inspects his bandages like she's trying to solve a puzzle. She gets right in his face, looking totally confused because she can't find any sign of that awakened rank insignia on him. Xian is struggling to even push himself up, looking completely baffled by why these psychos are so obsessed with his status. Giselle keeps on yapping, and she's clearly not taking him seriously at all, treating him like some random bug she found in the sand. Xian is face down in the dirt, trying to process the fact that these people think he's a nobody just because he's missing a badge. Out of nowhere, the guy in the transport vehicle starts screaming at them to stop wasting time because the sun is going down. Giselle asks her leader what to do with our guy, acting all sweet while Xian is still clutching his arm like it's about to fall off. The big boss man doesn't even blink, just orders them to toss Xian into the transport like he's just another piece of cargo for the mines. The transport vehicle is hauling ass across the dunes, kicking up dust like it's trying to outrun the apocalypse itself. Inside, the tension is absolutely peaking, with everyone screaming about the sunset and the danger of being caught out in the open. Xian is just lying there in the back, tied up and trying to play it cool, while the others are losing their minds over the schedule. He's finally putting the pieces together, realizing that his ability to control the sand is proof he's officially an awakened. But he's still totally confused, wondering why his rank insignia is playing hide-and-seek and why the color looks so weird. He takes a closer look at his own arm and realizes the mark is literally the exact same shade as the desert sand. It's starting to click that these rank insignias aren't just random tattoos, they're tied directly to whatever class you fall into. We get a look at Giselle, who's clearly a magic type with that blue energy signature, and she's looking way too happy about it. Then there's the combat type guys, rocking that red insignia, looking like they're ready to scrap at a moment's notice. Xian finally realizes he's a total outlier, possessing a rare ability to manipulate sand that doesn't fit into their neat little boxes. Our boy Xian is literally vibrating with raw energy, realizing he's tapped into something totally unheard of. Even though his badge says he's bottom-tier trash, he can feel this insane, limitless potential coursing through his veins. He's sitting there in the dark, carefully molding the sand into a tiny globe, deciding to keep his true strength on the down low for now. He's got this wild, manic look in his eyes, basically declaring that this entire wasteland is about to become his own personal playground. The scene shifts to these massive, jagged rock formations looming over the horizon like something out of a post-apocalyptic nightmare. Xian arrives at the magic stone mine, scanning the checkpoint and trying to act like he's just another regular guy in the crowd. Some random guard starts barking orders at him, acting all tough and threatening to tie him up even tighter if he doesn't shut his trap. We see the big boss Zhang Yongbum and that blue-haired cutie Giselle watching from the sidelines, totally unfazed by the situation. Giselle is acting all bubbly and dismissive, trying to convince her leader that Xian surviving is just a lucky fluke. But the big guy isn't buying it for a second, giving us that cold, suspicious look that says he knows something is definitely up with our boy. Xian is standing there with a look of pure confusion, trying to process the absolute insanity he just witnessed. He's looking back at the entrance of the mine, realizing he probably should have gotten a name from that powerhouse, but he's got a gut feeling their paths are gonna cross again. We get a look at the bustling, gritty streets of the settlement, where people are just trying to scrape by in this neon-lit hellscape. The place is packed with folks just hanging out, grabbing a drink or a bite, totally oblivious to the fact that they're living on the edge of a death trap. Xian is wandering through the area, genuinely surprised that a mining camp has turned into a full-blown subterranean city with everything you could need. The guard is still being a total jerk, waving his gun around and barking at Xian to keep his trap shut until the boss shows up. Xian fires back with some sass, asking if the guy is really just gonna walk away after threatening him like that. The guard is clearly losing his patience, telling Xian to do whatever he wants because he's just a nobody in his eyes. Xian decides to stop stressing and starts looking for some grub, his stomach finally reminding him he's still human after all. He wanders over to a street vendor to grab a snack, while in the background a piece of propaganda reminds everyone that their forced labor is supposedly for the greater good of Neo Soul. Xian is just trying to grab a bite, but this creepy old geezer slides in and starts dropping some seriously dark truth bombs. The old man's hands look like they've seen 1,000 years of hell, and he's basically implying that Neo Soul is powered by something way more messed up than just rocks. Xian is genuinely confused, looking at his snack while asking the million-dollar question about what's actually keeping the lights on in this city. The old guy points a finger right at Xian, making it crystal clear that he's talking about people like our boy. This dude is straight up unhinged, laughing about how the rats are the perfect fuel source because they just keep breeding and replacing themselves. Xian tries to play it cool, but he's clearly unsettled by how much this random stranger knows about the dark side of the mines. The old man keeps pushing, making some twisted jokes about Xian's near-death experience inside that giant worm. He's basically telling Xian that there's no escape from this meat grinder, while our boy just insists he's only here to stack some cash. The geezer just laughs off Xian's ambition, acting like he's about to show him a secret stash that'll change his whole perspective. Xian is totally weirded out, wondering why this guy is so obsessed with his collection of trash, but he's about to see something that'll probably haunt him. This old geezer is really getting under Xian's skin, acting like he's some kind of prophet of doom predicting his future. He starts rambling about how everyone tries to fight the inevitable, hanging onto the rope of life while staring into the abyss of the mines. He paints a grim picture of people selling every last piece of themselves just to survive another day in this hellhole. It's a cycle of pure misery where nothing ever gets fixed, and all that hard-earned cash just slips through their fingers like sand. He describes the pathetic reality of people just giving up and letting the mines swallow them whole because it's easier than fighting. The old man keeps digging at Xian, claiming that while normal folks leave a name behind when they die, guys like them are just disposable trash. He's clearly trying to bait our boy, acting all smug and curious about what kind of legacy a nobody like Xian could possibly leave. Xian finally snaps, slamming his hand down and demanding to know how much that measly skewer of meat actually costs. The old guy drops the price, and Xian is absolutely floored, realizing that even a tiny snack costs a small fortune in this economy. Xian just laughs it off with a sarcastic grin, telling the old man he's flat broke and doesn't have that kind of coin to throw around. Xian is absolutely losing his cool, calling out the vendor for trying to scam him with that ridiculous price. He's genuinely shocked, looking around at the shady crowd and wondering if everyone here is just out to bleed him dry. The tension is rising, and you can see Xian's guard going up as he realizes he's surrounded by people who'd probably shank him for a couple of coins. The old geezer just keeps that creepy, smug look on his face, acting like he's the one pulling all the strings in this dump. Suddenly, Xian feels like he's being hunted, with a dark, ominous shadow looming over him like he's about to get jumped by a pack of wolves. The old man leans in, still grinning like a total psycho, and asks Xian what his next move is going to be. Xian is so fed up that he slams his fist down, clearly ready to throw hands if this guy doesn't stop playing games. He's still trying to talk his way out of it, but the old man just brushes off his excuses like they're nothing. The geezer drops the act of being a nice guy and makes it clear he's got his eyes on something way more valuable than pocket change. And just like that, the old man reveals he's been eyeing that magic stone in Xian's pocket the whole time. Talk about a total shakedown. Xian is absolutely shook, realizing that the rumors about his past are already making the rounds in this dump. The old geezer isn't playing around anymore, leaning in with that creepy grin and demanding Xian hand over the goods for a fair price. Xian is done being the punching bag, telling the old man he's not giving up what he's fought so hard to keep. The big guy tries to manhandle our boy, grabbing his head like he's just some random street rat with no backbone. But Xian isn't just taking it, and he unleashes a blast of power that sends the big guy reeling back in total shock. The big guy is losing his mind, screaming at the old man to stop watching and just help him finish Xian off for good. Xian finally snaps, calling out his signature move, Sand Blaster, and the atmosphere in the room turns deadly in a heartbeat. In a flash of pure violence, Xian's power tears through the air, leaving the big guy's arm completely severed and spraying blood everywhere. The whole crowd is standing there in total silence, staring at the detached limb in absolute horror while Xian stands his ground. Xian's eyes are glowing with that intense, terrifying amber aura, and you can tell he's officially done playing nice with these bastards. Some massive brute is literally manhandling our boy Xian, grabbing his head like he's nothing more than a toy. The guy is acting all concerned, asking if Xian was just daydreaming or having some kind of nightmare, but it's clearly just a power play. Xian is forced to hand over that precious mana stone, and you can see the frustration radiating off him. The old geezer is practically drooling over the stone, checking it out like he's found a golden ticket in this wasteland. When the old man lowballs him with a pathetic offer of 100 sol, Xian absolutely loses it, calling him out for the blatant scam. The old man just keeps pushing his buttons, basically telling Xian he should be grateful he isn't out there becoming fertilizer for the sandworms. Xian gets slammed down hard, and you can tell he's reaching his absolute breaking point with these clowns. He's clenching his fist so hard the sand is literally grinding under his skin, fighting every urge to just snap and wipe them out right now. He keeps telling himself to hold back, knowing that if he blows his cover now, he's gonna be in way over his head. Finally, he looks up with this terrifying, blood-stained grin, telling the old man to just pay up so he can get out of there before he loses his mind. The old geezer is acting all friendly, warning our boy about all the shady pickpockets lurking around this dump. He's trying to play the generous mentor, offering Xian a chance to pick out some junk as a little bonus for their deal. Xian takes a look at the shelves, but honestly it's just a pile of useless garbage that wouldn't even be worth a single sol. Our guy is clearly unimpressed, holding up a goofy mask and wondering if this is really the best the old man has to offer. The old geezer is watching him like a hawk, clearly fascinated by how much effort Xian is putting into digging through this trash. Xian is still rocking that ridiculous disguise, looking at a weird coin and questioning why he's even wasting his time here. He's genuinely surprised when he spots something that actually catches his eye, finally breaking his bored expression. The old man is still hovering, acting like he's just a helpful merchant while Xian keeps his guard up. Xian decides to settle on an old hourglass, figuring it's the only thing in this whole pile that isn't complete trash. The old geezer can't help but mock him for picking such a useless trinket, while Xian just brushes him off and gets ready to bounce. Xian turns back one last time to ask the old man for his name before he heads off. The old geezer shouts back his name, Klexi, with a grin that's honestly kind of unsettling. Xian doesn't hold back, calling him an old geezer and telling him they should never cross paths again. Klexi just chuckles, clearly thinking he's got the upper hand and that they'll definitely be seeing more of each other. Back in his room, Xian pulls out that weird hourglass artifact he snagged from the merchant's junk pile. He's staring at the sand inside, realizing he's only got about 10 minutes of juice left to work with. Xian sits down on the floor of the miner's dormitory, getting himself into a meditative state to focus. He starts a rhythmic breathing exercise, inhaling and exhaling to steady his nerves and lock in his concentration. His eyes are closed, but you can see the intensity building as he prepares to tap into his hidden potential. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, glowing with that wild amber light as he commands the sand to move, showing he's finally ready to play for keeps. Our boy Xian is staring deep into that hourglass, trying to figure out why this random piece of junk feels so weirdly important. He's sitting there on the floor, totally frustrated, realizing that this thing isn't actually tied to his own power at all. He's trying to convince himself that he's never seen this relic before in his life, but his gut is telling him a completely different story. Then he gets this massive wave of déjà vu, like he's seen this exact setup before, almost like it was waiting for him to find it. It's like the item is calling out to him, and he's feeling a brand new, confusing emotion he can't even put a name to. Suddenly, this absolute meathead named Park Manho comes flying in with a massive kick, looking to put our guy in his place. This loudmouth overseer is screaming his head off, demanding to know why Xian isn't already breaking his back in the mines. Xian isn't backing down an inch, standing his ground and calmly correcting the guy on his name while throwing some shade about the lack of directions. Manho swings a wild punch, but Xian is already midair, pulling off a slick dodge that makes the overseer look like a total amateur. Xian's had enough of the yapping, and he's clenching his fist, ready to show this bully exactly what happens when you push the wrong dude. Park Manho is absolutely losing his mind, pinning our guy to the ground and screaming for him to shut his trap. The overseer is acting like a total psycho, raining down blows and demanding to know if Xian thinks this is some kind of joke. Manho is busy belittling Xian, calling him a pathetic, unawakened loser who should just sit there and take the beating like a good little dog. The big guy is still posturing, acting like he's the king of the world and ordering Xian to follow him without another word. Xian is just standing there, looking completely battered and exhausted while the overseer looms over him like a mountain. Deep down, our boy is seething, silently vowing that he's going to make Park Manho pay for this disrespect when the time is right. They finally arrive at the entrance to the Sector 3 mine, a dark, gloomy tunnel that looks like the literal gates of hell. Park Manho is barking orders at the staff, telling them to get the new kid geared up and ready for the grind. The worker is busy slapping a high-vis vest on Xian, explaining the predatory system where they'll be charging him for every single thing he uses. Xian is just staring into space, looking completely overwhelmed as he realizes he's officially trapped in this soul-crushing nightmare. A heavy pickaxe slams down, shattering a miner's helmet like it's made of cheap glass. Park Manho is absolutely losing his mind, screaming at the poor guy for being a total screw-up and threatening to dock his pay for the broken gear. The overseer is clearly on a power trip, barking orders to send the brat straight to the notorious shaft 972. Xian tries to play it cool, but the veteran miner is literally shaking, terrified because he knows exactly what kind of death trap that shaft really is. Manho isn't having any of their backtalk, screaming at them to get moving before he decides to take his frustration out on their skulls. The two of them are forced to head down, with the veteran warning Xian that he's hit the jackpot of bad luck by arriving on the day Manho lost his shirt gambling. Xian is genuinely surprised to find out this hellhole has its own underground economy, complete with all the vices you'd find in the city. He drops a sarcastic comment about how business must be booming with a psycho like Manho running the show, and the veteran can't help but laugh at his nerve. Xian looks at his own hands, joking that his skin is way too soft for this manual labor, but the veteran gives him a look that says he's in for a rude awakening. They finally arrive at the destination, and the veteran drops the chilling truth that nobody ever gets injured in shaft 972, because they never make it out alive. Xian and the veteran miner finally reach the entrance of shaft 972, and the vibe is absolutely cursed. Xian is trying to keep his cool, thinking he can just grab some mana stones and dip, but the veteran hits him with the cold, hard truth that he's not coming back. The veteran drops the bombshell that over a dozen people have already vanished in this hole, and he knew 4 of them personally. The guy is clearly broken, apologizing to Xian while thanking him for being the one to step into this death trap instead of someone else. The veteran looks absolutely haunted, staring at the reality of the situation as he prepares to leave Xian to his fate. Xian is left standing there in shock, realizing that the veteran is actually abandoning him in this nightmare. He's staring up at the elevator, completely stunned that he's being left behind to rot in this hellhole. Xian starts losing his mind, screaming at the top of his lungs and cursing everyone out for dumping him in this place just because he rubbed them the wrong way. In his blind rage, he swings his pickaxe, but it slips right out of his hands and goes flying into the darkness. Panicking, Xian instinctively reaches out, and you can see his power starting to flare up as he tries to call the tool back to his hand. Xian finds himself standing in the middle of a creepy, cavernous space that feels way too quiet for a death trap. He starts realizing the air is thick with mana, and he's wondering why nobody else seemed to notice this insane energy spike. It's getting so intense that he's actually worried. He knows any normal person would have been fried by this level of oversaturation by now. Our boy is looking around, totally baffled and trying to figure out where this massive surge of power is even coming from. Suddenly, he spots his broken pickaxe lying in the dirt and lets out a sigh of relief that he at least found his gear. He's laughing at his own bad luck, noting that even though the handle is snapped, he's still got enough grit to keep moving forward. Just as he steps on the ground, the floor starts glowing with this ominous red energy, and he realizes he's stepped into something way bigger than a mine. He's freaking out, eyes wide, as he realizes he's staring at a literal portal opening up right beneath his feet. The energy is so wild it's practically launching him into the air, and he's scrambling to keep his balance while the world turns into a red blur. The pickaxe is left behind in the dust, abandoned as Xian gets sucked into the mystery of what's actually hidden in the depths of shaft 972. People are already writing our boy off as a total goner, just another kid chewed up by the system. It's a cold world, and even the neighbors are just hoping he doesn't kick the bucket on their doorstep. We get a flashback to Xian's past, where he's just trying to survive and not starve to death for once. He's getting jumped by some random punks for stealing a piece of meat, and man, they are absolutely relentless. It's a total brawl, with Xian fighting for his life while these guys treat him like he's nothing but trash. Then we see the aftermath, with Xian standing over a body, realizing he's crossed a line he can never uncross. The pressure is insane, with lightning-like energy crackling everywhere as he's hunted down like a dog. He's just desperate for a normal life, but the world keeps dragging him back into the mud. Back in the present, Xian faceplants into the dirt, completely wiped out after that wild portal ride. He's dazed and confused, realizing he's surrounded by nothing but ash and wondering what kind of hell he's just landed in. Our boy Xian is looking absolutely shell-shocked, realizing he just face-planted into a literal nightmare. He takes one look at the landscape, all fire and jagged rock, and realizes he's trapped inside a dungeon. The heat is already starting to cook him alive, and he's scrambling to move before he gets turned into human jerky. He's trying to keep his head, reminding himself that even the big shots in Neo Soul treat these places like a death sentence. He looks at his own hand, caked in volcanic ash, and realizes his lungs are gonna be toast if he doesn't find a way out ASAP. Xian figures if there's a way in, there's gotta be a way out, and he starts scanning the horizon for a path. He spots a massive, glowing mountain peak in the distance and decides that's his only shot at survival. He knows sitting around is just a slow way to die, so he masks up and gets ready to make his move. With no monsters in sight, he decides to stop wasting time and starts sprinting toward that peak like his life depends on it, because it does. Xian fully commits to the run, hyping himself up and proving that this dude is way too stubborn to just roll over and die. Our boy Xian is literally hanging on for dear life at the edge of a volcanic pit, barely dodging a one-way ticket to the afterlife. He barely pulls himself up, cursing his luck as the ground crumbles away like it's made of dry crackers. He's reaching out, desperate and gasping for air, looking like he's about to lose his grip on reality entirely. With a burst of adrenaline, he scrambles up the jagged cliffside, trying to put some distance between himself and that molten death trap. He's shouting into the void, letting out all that pent-up frustration because this lava is trying to turn him into a crispy snack. He collapses on the solid ground, completely gassed and just trying to catch his breath while his heart hammers against his ribs. Even while he's dying of exhaustion, he's still screaming threats at Park Manhwa, promising to make that bastard pay for every second of this hell. He realizes that getting all worked up is just spiking his body temp, so he forces himself to chill out and turn off that rage mode. He clenches his fist, staring at his own hand with a look of pure, unadulterated grit, swearing he's gonna make it out of this alive. He stands up, looking out at the horizon, and mutters to himself that he's only got 4 more hurdles to clear before he's home free. Xian is staring down this absolute furnace of a landscape, calculating that he's only 4 jumps away from making it out of this nightmare. He's got his mask pulled tight, eyes locked on the prize, telling himself to just keep moving and stop overthinking the insanity of it all. Our boy is digging deep, clenching his fist and swearing that he's not gonna let his story end in this hellish pit. He's fully committed now, launching himself forward with everything he's got, refusing to let his momentum die out. Suddenly, a massive serpentine beast erupts from the molten ground, looking like something straight out of a Godzilla flick. The creature is absolutely terrifying, covered in jagged scales and radiating enough heat to melt the very air around it. It's closing in fast, tearing through the volcanic terrain like it's nothing, and Xian is right in its line of fire. The monster looms over him, its massive glowing eyes locked onto our guy like he's the main course. Xian is gasping for air, completely blown away by the sheer heat, realizing that the volcanic ash is actually starting to melt. He's clutching his arm, realizing his power to control the ash is the only thing keeping him alive, even if he's still got a massive problem to deal with. Our boy Xian is literally getting cooked alive, collapsing into the dirt as the heat in this dungeon hits an all-time high. He's struggling to even keep his eyes open, realizing the environment itself is way more lethal than any monster he's faced so far. The poor guy is barely hanging on, feeling his nasal passages getting scorched by the ash while his consciousness starts to slip away. He's lying there in the dark, totally defeated, wondering if this is finally the end of the road for him. But then he snaps back, reminding himself he hasn't even had a girlfriend yet, and he's not about to go out like some random chump. He forces himself up, channeling his sand powers with a defiant glare, basically telling the mysterious old man Yama to back off. Suddenly, a massive, fiery beast lunges out of the shadows, looking like a total nightmare straight out of a Godzilla movie. Xian lets out a desperate scream as the creature's presence hits him, and he hears a creepy voice mocking his unique ability. He's totally on edge, dodging and weaving while trying to figure out if that disembodied voice actually belongs to Old Man Yama. The voice keeps yapping about how amusing his sand powers are, but Xian isn't having any of it, ready to fight for his life against the odds. Out of nowhere, this absolute unit of a guy comes crashing down from the sky like a meteor, aiming straight for that massive beast. We get a close-up of this old geezer's face, and man, that grin is pure nightmare fuel. He's clearly loving every second of this chaos. He's descending with so much intensity that the air itself seems to be warping around him, totally living up to the hype of a high-level awakened. He's winding up for a strike that looks like it could level a city block, showing off that raw, terrifying power. Xian is watching the whole thing go down, eyes wide as saucers, realizing he's about to be caught in the crossfire of a god-tier brawl. The impact is absolutely insane, sending a shockwave of energy that hits the ground like a tactical nuke. Xian is getting tossed around like a ragdoll by the sheer force of the blast, screaming as the ground beneath him turns to dust. Our boy is left clutching his head, completely disoriented and struggling to hear anything over the ringing in his ears from that massive sonic boom. He's trying to piece together what just happened, wondering if he's hallucinating or if that old guy really just dropped from the heavens to start a fight. He looks up and realizes the situation is way different than he thought, as the newcomer starts going toe-to-toe with the beast in a display of pure, unadulterated badassery. Xian is literally shaking in his boots, realizing this guy is playing on a completely different level than any awakened he's ever seen. The old geezer looks like a final boss straight out of a dark fantasy game, radiating pure, unhinged energy. He slams his foot down, cracking the earth like he's trying to trigger an earthquake, and demands to know who our boy is. Xian is barely holding it together, stuttering out that he's just trying to get his name across before he gets turned into paste. This old psycho just grins, giving our boy a 3-second countdown that feels like an eternity. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as the old man looms over Xian, waiting for the clock to run out. Time's up and the geezer is already done playing nice, basically telling Xian it's lights out for him. He's got that terrifying, glowing red-eye look, making it clear he's about to end our boy's whole career right here. Xian finally snaps and starts screaming for his life, begging the old man to spare him because he has no clue what's even happening. The old geezer mocks him for finally finding his voice, and Xian blurts out his name, hoping that's enough to stop the slaughter. Xian is absolutely fuming because this old guy has the audacity to call his name stupid while he's literally fighting for his life. The old man unleashes a massive, glowing strike that tears through the dungeon floor like a hot knife through butter. Xian is completely overwhelmed, clutching his head as the sheer pressure of the guy's presence starts to crush him. The old man finally introduces himself as Daoden, and Xian is just staring at him, totally baffled by the whole situation. Xian is reaching his breaking point, snapping back at the guy and demanding to know why he keeps acting like such a jerk. Daoden doesn't even blink, just calls our boy a total idiot while Xian tries to process the fact that he was just saved. The old man starts explaining that Xian got caught in a noose, and Xian is just standing there, completely lost as to what that even means. Daoden breaks down the science, explaining how a dungeon gets oversaturated with mana and literally pukes out a new entrance to vent the pressure. He keeps going, describing how that same process births a living monster, which is exactly what that creepy, snake-like thing was. The old man laughs in Xian's face, telling him he has the worst luck in the world, while Xian silently curses Park Man-ho for landing him in this mess. Our boy Xian is absolutely fed up with this old geezer calling him names, and he's not afraid to bark back. Old man Yama isn't having any of it, grabbing Xian's face and forcing him to focus his mana for a serious lesson. Xian tries to protest, but the old man shuts him down instantly, demanding he pump more purity into his mana. Yama tells him to stop using his eyes and start feeling the world through mana, and suddenly Xian's vision shifts. Xian is completely floored by what he's seeing, finally realizing why the old man was being such a hardass. It turns out there's a massive, stealthy magic beast lurking right there, ready to turn any unsuspecting prey into a snack. Xian is shaking, realizing that a monster like that was sitting right under his nose, and he didn't even feel a single vibe. He's having a total oh crap moment, realizing that if this old guy hadn't stepped in, he'd be dead meat already. It's the second time this guy has saved his skin, and Xian is starting to realize he's way out of his leg. Xian just stares at the old man in total awe, wondering how much power this guy is actually hiding under that cloak. Xian is still reeling from the chaos, but he can't help but ask the old man who he actually is, only for Daoden to snap back and call him a complete moron for forgetting his name already.